Hello, I'm Kerry Connolly, and today is the 11th of June and it's a Thursday. And we're looking at the Moravian text passage, Luke chapter 1, verses 57 to 66, which is the birth of John the Baptist, which is nice for me because today's also my birthday, so happy birthday, us. And the candle, which you might be able to see if you're watching, but if you're listening, I've got a candle here, is just here to remind me that God is with me in this moment, in the same way that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, God is with you. Amen. So it's absolutely brilliant looking at the early chapters of Luke, which I think for the first time I've really absorbed through watching that Bible Project introduction, just how beautifully Luke dovetails the stories of Jesus's birth and John's birth to really announce loud and clear that God is doing something miraculous and spectacular in this time in Israel's history after a very long amount of radio silence. So we've got the birth of John the Baptist sandwiched between Mary's song when she goes to visit Elizabeth, and then tomorrow looking at Zachariah's song, where we begin to glean some of the things that he learned through all the time that he was silent while Elizabeth was pregnant with John. Is evidence that we actually learn a lot more when we're silent than when we're speaking. So I just want to pick out two significant things in this passage, and that's the names that appear in the passage and the people's responses. So we've got Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, and her name means oath of God, or God is satisfaction. God is a promise maker and God is a promise keeper. And then we've got Zechariah, the Lord has remembered. God doesn't forget his promises or neglect his purposes. And then surprisingly to the crowd who expect the name Zechariah to be repeated for the next generation, the baby that has appeared is called John. And we know that that's the name given to him by God via the angel, and which Zechariah and Elizabeth have said amen to. And that means God is gracious. So right in this moment, even before John can speak, even before John has made any conscious decisions, he is speaking and prophesying to the people about what God is about to do. And he's paving the way for a Messiah that comes to bring mercy and forgiveness. God is gracious. And then we look at people's responses to what's happened. Her neighbours and relatives heard that the Lord had shown her great mercy, and they shared her joy. The word was out that God was doing something special. And then in verses 65 and 66, we hear that there's a real buzz going on and everyone's asking questions because of the miraculous things that have happened. And when we ask questions, it means that we're curious. And when we're curious, we become teachable. And we see already in this moment, as I said before John has even uttered a word or made a conscious choice in his life, he is preparing the way. He is opening people's hearts. He's getting people thinking about what God might be doing in this time. And he is speaking about the fact that God is gracious, that God has not forgotten his people, that God has not forgotten his promises, and he is beginning to move in awesome and miraculous power once more in the lives of his people. And that really reminds me of the verse in Romans that God's gift and call are irrevocable, and also in Proverbs 16 verse 9, that in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. I can spend so much time worrying about whether or not I'm fulfilling God's plan for my life. But actually this passage encourages me that when God has set a purpose for your life, my part is to delight in him, is to be devoted to him, and his part is to fulfill the purpose of God in my life, because it's for his glory anyway, not for mine. That is a comforting and reassuring thought to me. So just to recap, the names right here just tell us so much of God's faithfulness and God's promises and God's plans and God's fulfillment and God's grace. And it's such an encouragement that the details of a story, the details of our lives matter. It's easy to think that those things are insignificant and that they mean nothing. But God is working all of these things together for our good, but also for his purposes. I hope you enjoy getting to know John the Baptist as much as I have in the next couple of days and weeks as we look at these passages. He's such an example to us all of what it means to humbly and obediently follow Jesus. But today I'm just so encouraged that I'm a lot less able to derail God's plans than I feel I am at times. I hope that's an encouragement to you today. And I hope it's an encouragement to you to know that God is with you in this moment. Amen.